my name is Eva and welcome to this channel. Today I have a very special video for you. I filmed a video a while back with my wonderful friend and researcher Andrea to talk about body positivity, the research that she's done, and really just blow your minds out of the water about how you can feel about food and your body and all the systemic and societal things that are pretty darn gross. So, this video, Body Positivity 101, there's going to be 5 lessons in it. So I'm going to be popping back and forth. I really hope that you like it and you learn a lot. So let's get started. Today I have a very special guest with me. This is Andrea. Do you want to introduce yourself?
I am a YouTube newbie and I'm a PhD student and I'm studying eating disorders and eating disorder recovery. I also do a lot of activism and advocacy in that area as well.
So the first lesson, or first 2 lessons, is that body positivity was actually created by women of color, fat people, and people with disabilities. And if you know anything about body positivity now, that might not be immediately what you think of when you think of body positive. However, with that doesn't mean that it's still difficult to be a conventionally attractive person in today's society, and body positivity is still for everybody. But I hope Andrea and I can talk to you a little bit about the history, where we come from, and what body positivity looks like now.
Originally, body positivity, people in large bodies were interested in seeing more people who looked like them, and also people with different abilities, people who've been racialized, all sorts of different people who just basically weren't represented in the mainstream. What we see a lot now is that people are talking about body positivity who often do look more like the norm. If you have like a small roll of flesh, like that's like
it.
The thing. It's like, oh my God, you're so brave showing your roll of flesh. And I'm like, well, it's like maybe brave still, and it can still be hard. And I think that's the really hard part is like, yeah, it's still really hard to love your body even when your body does look like the norm. And I think it's really important that we acknowledge that. But when our media campaigns around it end up only showing these videos, people are still underrepresented. And it's moved away from kind of creating a space where there wasn't a space before toward just reinforcing that space that already existed through the creation of a new type of media around bodies.
The second lesson is about something called weight stigma, which Andrea will explain in 2 seconds. But it's that weight stigma is systemic and everywhere, and it has real life negative impacts on people's health and their lives.
Weight stigma, in short, is basically just the idea that people are stigmatized because they exist in a body that is bigger than what is accepted socially. It's not just in the media, it's also in doctors' offices, it also happens amongst friends. And basically what happens when people are stigmatizing people based on their size is they assume that somebody is healthier when they're thin and less healthy when they're fat.
Number 3, which is very relevant to New Year's resolutions, is that diets don't work.
There is really strong evidence that diets really just lead to diet cycling. So diets lead to weight loss initially, but then the minute that you stop engaging in really restricted practices or very specific food eating, you'll gain the weight back, and usually plus some.
The 4th idea is that health and size are totally unrelated. Andrea, tell us about that.
People in large bodies might be doing behaviors that we see as healthy, and then a thin person might, either never eat or they might eat all the time. They're just a person with a really high metabolism. They might be, a thin person could theoretically be eating at McDonald's like 3 times a day. Like, we don't know that.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of genetic variation, and there's this thing called set point theory that talks about how your body is set up to defend a natural set point, and it's a range, so it's around 10 pounds of variation or whatever the case may be, that your body is going to try to stay within that realm, really, even if you don't eat enough, or if you eat too much, like your body's still going to try to defend that set point. But basically, the whole idea is we can't judge how healthy somebody is just by looking at them.
The next lesson, now that we've talked about how health and size are not necessarily related, we're going to talk about how society's idea of health and what a healthy person looks like isn't always accessible to everybody.
There is also the idea of what's called healthism, which is that really nobody owes it to you or to anybody else to be healthy, right? Like that's just not a value for everybody, and it's not something that everybody can pursue in the same way.
Yeah.
And we can think about this in terms of like different abilities, for instance. So like while we might see being healthy as like going for a walk every day, like not everybody walks. Like some people have mobility issues that mean that they're in a wheelchair, or even just like mobility is really hard for them physically. So that might not be something that they engage in. And that doesn't make them any worse of a person just because they're not pursuing health in the way that we see health. Or other people in low income situations might need to like work a bunch of jobs, and so they don't have time to exercise, or you know, they don't have the money to go somewhere, or they don't feel safe where they have the place to exercise. Like you are enough as a human being regardless of how healthy you are.
I hope you are still with me. We have learned so much in the past couple minutes, but where do we go from here? Andrea is now going to talk about something called body neutrality, which is super duper cool.
Something that I've found to be helpful, and I know a couple of people have found to be helpful, is the idea of body neutrality. So body neutrality basically means that you don't have to be like shouting your body love from the rooftops every single moment of every single day, and it's not really necessarily realistic, particularly when, as we've talked about, like the system kind of makes it really hard to love your body.
Yeah.
So body neutrality instead is a way of saying like, hey, there are going to be some days where I feel like my body is crap, and that's okay. I'm not going to judge myself for that. I'm just going to like let myself feel crappy about myself that day, and then maybe the next day I'm going to feel better, because our body image and our sense of being in our body changes like not only day to day, but like even minute to minute. But the beauty in that is that just as quickly as it can turn on its head and make you feel really crummy, it can also flip the other way, and you might feel great if something amazing happens in your life. So I think body neutrality is really nice in that it doesn't ask us to always be perfectly in love with ourselves.
Thank you so much for watching this video. This has definitely been a one-on-one boot camp about body positivity. Thank you so much to Andrea for being a part of this video. I have linked all of her social media links in the description. She kicks butt on Instagram and Twitter, and she is a super rad researcher, so please go check her out. I am also putting our full 30-minute chat on my Patreon for $1. You can watch us and listen to us talk about weddings and eating disorder research. It's super, super interesting. All the stuff I couldn't include in this video. But that is all for me.
Have a lovely day!